Welcome to Love in a Podcast. I'm Nathaniel, and right in front of me is my beautiful partner and co-host.
Hey, I'm Shiloh.
The world lost a special human being this past week, and I just wanted to dedicate this episode to Bruce, someone that brought only joy to so many people's lives, including his many students, his soulmate Greg, and my beautiful mother, from whom I heard endless wonderful stories about him. Rest in peace, Bruce.
Rest in peace. That was beautiful. So this episode is called The Virtuous Cycle. And actually tonight we are finishing up the Power of Joy series. Yeah. So the main reason for delivering 3 episodes focused on joy and happiness, my mental health has been wavering between depressed to anxious to just exhausted. And while I do experience joy and happiness, I needed to learn and read about what others do or have done during low moments in life. I needed some inspiration for my own self.
Me too.
So that is why we did the Power of Joy series. And also, just because I feel low sometimes, it's not to say I'm ungrateful for my life. I know I'm very fortunate. I do walk with gratitude deep inside myself. And although some days are harder than others, I know that what I have is very special. I have love, relationships, I have healing, and my health, as you all have things to be grateful for as well.
I have my dog Jack, and that's it.
Jack is enough.
No.
He fills all the voids, and it's not just because he's a fatta man.
Fatta man.
Fatta man can. So I chose the article with the same name as our episode, The Virtuous Cycle, to share with you because 1, the Dalai Lama, 2, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and 3, the questions this article provoked in me needed to be shared with you. Douglas Abrams, the author of the Time article, published a little book called The Book of Joy, inspired solely on both Nobel Peace Prize winners meeting in April 2015 in Dharamsala, India. So in case you've been living under a rock, I will not judge you, but His Holiness the Dalai Lama is a Buddhist monk, and he is the spiritual leader of Tibet.
Someone that I have followed my entire life.
Yes, as I have not my entire life, but yeah.
I mean, not my entire life, but around the age of 14, 15, I started exploring Buddhism.
Right. No, I'm being a jerk, but
what an appropriate time, right?
But people could have been following the Dalai Lama for centuries because he is currently 85 years old, but he is the 14th Dalai Lama in a line of great men.
Yeah, and he does not look his age either, by the way.
Well, I think it's because he is the advocate of joy and peace and more importantly, interfaith understanding. He doesn't allow religion to complicate his beliefs and his message. I've read a couple of his books. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that it's an actual fact. I mean, he actually discusses, Christ and Buddha in the same reverence. There's
a lot of references to different religions in his books, and the ones that I have read, it's The Art of Happiness. I've read The Four Noble Truths, Beyond Religion, and The Path to Enlightenment.
All good.
I strongly urge you all to grab one or as many as you can of the hundreds of books.
Well, if you read one, you're going to see why. You're going to end up reading more and more.
They're pretty addicting. Just curl up with some hot tea and melt. Because anything I've picked up from him has brought me some peace, and also helped me flex my compassion muscles a ton. Oh, and did I mention that he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner?
That's pretty special.
So yeah. This man has lived in exile from the Chinese government for many years, believe it or not. But somehow he still spreads his goodness around the world.
He does.
So he is going to be highlighted here. Also, moving on to Desmond Tutu, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He's a powerful voice in the movement for racial and social justice around the world and in his home country, which he is from Cape Town, South Africa. Yeah, he's just an overall amazing human being. He has worked in South Africa and around the world for justice and reconciliation, following years and years of institutionalized racism under the apartheid system.
Yes.
That is very apparent in South Africa.
Yeah, especially Cape Town.
Right. So in other words, this man is a fucking saint. A lot of what these two men say revolves around compassion and understanding, but also love, peace, and joy. Sometimes we find balance a difficult thing, wondering, do I find joy inside and then share it? Or is the joy outside of me and it's my responsibility to search it out and then soak it up? The article tells us that these two men believe that joy is a way of approaching the world. So in that sense, it's almost a verb. In the last two episodes, we talked about joy from the inside out and then what the outer world could possibly provide us. As I was writing this, I was listening to episode 5, Love and Smiling Through the Trying Times. And I noticed in it, I sounded relieved to be sharing my own struggles with you. So in this episode, I'm going to do the same.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Buckle up, baby. With that being said, I can't help but feel skepticism when I read about fulfilling our wishes and reaching our goals, helping others all the time and making more friends. This was what the article was nodding to on the first page. So I'm thinking, okay, you want us to make more friends during a pandemic. You want me to fulfill my goals when I'm stuck at home. You want me to fulfill more wishes and desires while I am unemployed and I'm unable to spend my money. Really? Really?
Really?
Could you even dare? Because I'm not a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
You could be.
Not yet. So I
like the optimism.
Always. You never know. Always. So, I'm game to listen to these men. Well, I kind of threw skepticism on the sidelines for a minute. But then as I'm writing this, I realized something, that I am fulfilling a goal. I am helping others from what I hear, and I am making more friends with this podcast. So
that's Loving a Podcast.
Loving a
Which
Podcast.
Can be found at lovingapodcast.com.
Yes, please.
I'm plugging the show on the show.
Yeah, I think you should probably do that more often. People forget what they're listening to.
Right?
So guys, it is possible. And, I know you're thinking, Shiloh, how the hell do you expect us to start a podcast? But you know damned well that we all fulfill our wishes in different ways. Because think about it. Many of us human beings are just waiting for happiness to happen to us. You talk about that internal dialogue and external dialogue when you get a raise or when you fall in love, looking for the vacation, the release, the happiness in a vacation, finally finding that one person who will stay.
I can't wait for you.
I can't wait for you either.
Yeah.
We're so far. You're literally 2 feet away from me. We would be waiting our entire lives if that was how we continued on. And this is not a trial run. Your one time on the planet is right now. And believe it or not, we cannot do it alone. The Archbishop says it's how we are made. I mean, we're wired to be compassionate. We are wired to be caring for the other and generous to one another. We shrivel when we are not able to interact. I mean, that is the part of the reason why solitary confinement is such a horrendous punishment. We depend on the other in order for us to be fully who we are.
I mean, in all seriousness, solitary confinement, it should be outlawed. It absolutely should be. It's probably one of the most...
It's very cruel.
It is, and there's a huge push for that, but the way our penal system here works, it's just here to stay.
Penal sounds really pervy.
Penal.
Oh, I don't like it anymore.
What?
I don't know.
You liked it to begin with?
It never really
What?
bothered me until now.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. But he goes on to say, I didn't know that I was going to come so soon to the concept that we have at home, the concept of Ubuntu. It says...
Which is a great operating system by Linux.
Okay. It says a person is a person through other persons. So think about that for a second. We learn how to do everything: love, use the bathroom, do math, make love, pretty much everything we need for survival from other people. That's huge. Like, we wouldn't be here without our mothers. Even, I'm sorry if your mother wasn't a mother to you, but someone had to give birth to you, and then someone fed you, and then you were touched by another human being and you were taught. This went on and on until this very moment
where you're listening to us.
Right. I mean, think of all the things, all the steps that you had to do, and all the people that served you or you served that got you to this point right here, this very second on this earth, spinning around.
And how many times you've listened to Love in a Podcast featuring Shiloh and Nathaniel.
Oh, no, I can't believe it. This is my life. I love you.
I love you too.
The Archbishop says that you don't have to be a believer in anything to know we belong in this delicate network of life. He also says, unfortunately, in our world, we tend to be blind to our connection until times of great disaster. We give resources to help others because we realize that we are bound up together. We are bound up and can be human only together. That just cracked my mind open.
Whoa.
When 9/11 happened, our country united on a level that I hadn't ever seen. And honestly, I haven't seen that since.
And sadly, it was steeped in racism and...
It was,
you know.
it was a disaster, a great disaster, but it brought everyone together. And while I pray that our world will join together in harmony concerning governments and religions and cultures, our reality is that societies are different and separate. But chaos can remind us of our connection. There can be a little bit of light there.
But see, that's the thing, is that we only saw one part of that connection. Because look at how Muslims in this country were ostracized.
Where they're treated afterwards. So it was, while it was light, it was still very dark. But this is why the Archbishop is a saint. He lives his truth, the truth of being of service to other human beings, regardless of the situation. Many of us, myself included, wonder how the hell we could ever help another person. You know, who has the time? Anyway, like waking up in the morning, we are immediately anxious, just checking our phones, rushing to work, worrying about bills and our kids and our pets, and now COVID. And success, it doesn't help that success in our society is measured by money, power, fame, and influence. These two men have the last three, but money doesn't dictate their worth. Can you imagine that? Like, really, can you imagine that? Finances being just money. It's just energy to do what you want and to go where you want, buy the things that you need.
I cannot imagine that.
It would be, okay, money simply being paper that doesn't constitute your worth, that doesn't determine your power, that would change everyone's lives.
I mean, if you look at it, the wealthiest man on the entire planet is one of the most evil at the same time. He does not spend any money putting it into anything, and he's doing all these just terrible things, and it's just really sad. So, but he's worth more than all of us. You know what I mean?
Combined. But if you're like many of us, you're allowing money to manipulate your joy. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you to cut that shit off. More than that, if money is in your mind 24/7, where is the room for spiritual greatness or improvement or creativity? I heard once that our educational system, fucks college graduates with student loans. And, due to the stress of the high payments, people have serious difficulty expressing their creative sides. That makes so much sense to me because I can attest to that. Like credit card debt and high student loan payments, living in cities where the overhead was really high. That was my life.
This is why I'm a high school dropout and a college dropout.
Oh my God.
And I paid off whatever, classes I took. So
I wish I could say I paid off my classes from the Art Institute.
Do you know how much I paid?
No.
$700.
Oh my God. There wasn't even a comma in that.
No.
Speaking of commas, this past year, finances, thank God, shifted for me, and then creative movement actually started flowing. So I've meditated on my relationship with money. I'm not ashamed to say that I've spent time with this.
If you could see her already large eyes getting even larger.
Because I mean it. I mean every single word. I read books. I listened to podcasts.
Her eyes are gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. See, he distracts me when I'm trying to be serious. And then I'm like,
Are you smiling?
I get all like googly and like.
Googly.
Yeah, Twitter painted. But now, my spiritual journey trumps the commas in my bank account. Any day. Well, most days. It's a work in progress. The Dalai Lama responded to Desmond Tutu. As he said, as you just mentioned, people think about money or fame or power. From the point of view of one's own personal happiness, these are short-sighted. The reality, as the Archbishop mentioned, is that human beings are social animals. One individual, no matter how powerful, how clever, cannot survive without other human beings. So the best way to fulfill your wishes, to reach your goals, is to help others, to make more friends. End of quote.
Well, and it's just interesting about how socialism is such a bad word,
Socials.
But the people that need socialist agencies and things like that, for whatever public assistance or whatever, they're the ones that are fighting against it more.
It's pretty bizarre. But you're thinking like, how in the hell do we make more friends? Like how? I'll continue reading the article verbatim because if you're going to get the gist, I just have to share this with you word for word. So he continues on, how do we create more friends? He now asks rhetorically. Trust. It's hard for me to see. I think I need specs. Trust. And how do you develop trust? It's simple. You show your genuine sense of concern for their well-being. Then trust will come. But if behind an artificial smile or a big banquet is a self-centered attitude deep inside of you, then there will never be trust. If you are thinking how to exploit, how to take advantage of them, then you can never develop trust in others. Without trust, there's no friendship. We human beings are social animals, as we've said, and we need friends, genuine friends. Friends for money, friends for power are artificial friends.
Whoa.
So there you go. If you didn't know how to make friends before, he just broke it down for you. Trust, and authenticity. So that got my mind thinking, I know we flourish in community, and when we become self-centeredness, I believe every single human is able to behave this way, whether you suffer from a mental illness or not. And we turn inward toward ourselves, we can find deep frustration. So think about it. Like, say you're uber focused on your life, your goals, your needs, and your wants, your hardships, even your great moments. All that occupies space in your brain that is turned inward. So you may find happiness solely because you're getting all your attention, but one day you're bound to feel frustration. And why would that be? Because we need community. We are social beings, but also there is no greater high than serving someone else on any scale. It's true.
I agree.
I also find that my own pain causes more self-centeredness. When I'm focusing on parts of myself that hurt and not focusing on anything else, I'm not able to focus on any other people. So it's a cycle of pain, of self-centeredness and frustration. It's like this loop of miserable thoughts. Do you agree?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. That's my favorite word. Thankfully, if we become aware of what's happening, we can change it if we so choose. So maybe you find comfort in pain or frustration. Like maybe that is something you need to sit with for a little while. My shaman says, sit in your messy diaper, just see what happens and pay attention. I'm like, I don't wanna. But I did find comfort in pain before. The abusive relationship I was in for years, for example. And this is an extreme example, but wait until I explain to hear what I learned. I became used to being afraid. I chose to numb with alcohol more than ever to cope with the fear, but I didn't leave. It was like I felt trapped, but my cage door was open. Somehow, in that chaos, there was comfort. Not the kind of warm, familiar comfort, but the knowing what to expect. Feeling like the love that I needed was in the form of abuse. It's a total mind fuck. I know it doesn't make any sense. But now that I've been doing my inner work, I can reflect and see that back then, I was only focused on myself, my situation. I was asked to be my friend's maid of honor, and I could barely get myself to class and work, let alone provide any type of experience for her. And so I should have told her no, that I couldn't help. I was constantly thinking of my pain. And in a sense, I didn't have anywhere to go. I was in college full time, working 2 jobs, and I had both of the puppies. We were living in a 2-bedroom with a roommate, so it was not glamorous at all. And this whole part of my life will be spoken about in our future episodes. Like I'm ready to share on it. But for the sake of this topic, I can say that my inward focus on my pain, hurt, my abuse, and misery caused even more misery. So I find that when I'm frustrated and insanely upset with myself now, I have to look outward and serve others. It just works more than continuing that loop of misery. Because I'm not a what if kind of person. I don't know what would have happened had I searched outward and stopped staring at this black abyss that was my heart back then. Like, I don't even care to think about it like that. But one thing it did teach me, other than to run away from abusers, is to break the inward misery cycle as soon as possible, because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. In his book with the Dalai Lama, psychiatrist Howard Cutler summarized these findings. In fact, he says, survey after survey had shown that it is unhappy people who tend to be most self-focused and are socially withdrawn, brooding, and even antagonistic. Happy people, in contrast, are generally found to be more sociable, flexible, and creative, and are able to tolerate life's daily frustrations more easily than unhappy people. And more important, they are found to be more loving and forgiving than unhappy people.
Well, I mean, you look at introverts and they find comfort in solitude.
Yeah.
But, it's like, because of that comfort, they're just too afraid to go out and see what it's like to be on the other side of that.
Right.
So exactly what you were saying, they're finding comfort in something that's not necessarily healthy.
Not very healthy. Yeah. I mean, you've all heard that if you're in a very comfortable place, you're not growing, so the discomfort that you choose to bring into your life could be serving you really well, and it's not in vain if it in turn can serve other people. So, I have to look back on that abusive relationship with clarity and not bitterness. I have been able to be of service to so many women and men since that, who are in the same situation. So every time I share my story, every time I am with someone that's doing, nothing about their abuse, but can't understand why, I have that gift to give them. So in that way, I'm honoring my life. I'm honoring their life. I stopped looking inward at my misery. I started looking outward on how to serve them. So getting back to the article, by now you might be wondering how in the hell we can combat injustice and inequality in the world with just our own personal joy. No doubt that is exactly what I was wondering too. But it's very basic. When we heal our own pain, we can turn to the pain of others. And this is where the term the virtuous cycle comes into play. And you might ask, the way we can heal our own pain is to turn toward others' experience and other people's pain and help them. Because the more we turn toward others, the more joy we experience. And the more joy we experience, the more we can bring joy to others. So it's this really beautiful cycle that I definitely suggest that you get in on as soon as freaking possible. The goal is not just to create joy for ourselves, but as the Archbishop poetically phrased it, to be a reservoir of joy an oasis of peace, a pool of serenity that can ripple out to all those around you, all of those around you. I thought that was just so freaking beautiful, to be a reservoir of joy and an oasis of peace, a pool of serenity that can ripple out to all of those around you. Man is a saint. Yeah, even more than that, we can be more empathetic and more empowered, even more spiritual as a state of mind, and just be totally engaging with the world around you. The Archbishop continues to explain how peace must come from within, that we cannot bring peace if we don't have it ourselves. You can't give away something you don't have. You know, we cannot try to make a world a better place if we don't also aspire for that in our own lives. And I know, like, this sounds like a really tall order, but I believe we have more power than we know. Like, we can transform. I call it an inner alchemy, engaging in inner alchemy. We are already equipped with these inner workings like joy and peace and empathy. I know for me, I lost some of that stuff. I lost some of those things along the way, you know. Things happened and they're not necessarily good things. So how could I feel joy and peace when I was afraid for my life, you know? Like when I roamed from place to place, adventuring, I felt safe. But as soon as I sat too still, there went that hamster wheel again. I used to think I have deep psychological issues and that no one would understand me. You know, I felt like an island with no way on or off. I used to obsess over my guilt and my shame, my self-loathing at times on my journey. And, you know, I hope someone out there can relate, because in those times, there was no way I thought I could look outward. But those were the moments when I really, really needed to. So, you know, losing my father to suicide at age 7 made me really bitter, I think. I stopped believing in magic. I didn't trust anyone. And this is what I think now. Like, of course, the trauma changed me. Of course, I had to cope with loss and abandonment. No one would ever look back and think, I should have done more for others at age 7 after my father committed suicide. Like, that's ridiculous. What I do believe is that when the depression and anxiety took over, when I was hurting so deeply. If I could look outside myself, I probably wouldn't have fallen into such deep despair. And that just brings it back to when my mom actually made me join a youth group at the local Presbyterian church when I was 11. You were in youth group as well.
Yeah.
Tell them where it was.
What?
Your youth group.
It was in a Lutheran church.
Where though?
Like what town?
It was right across the park from where I was going.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, 50 feet.
Yeah, you could throw a stone. So, I wasn't raised in a religion. I really didn't even know what religion meant, but I went to these weekly gatherings and eventually I joined Habitat for Humanity. So we fixed houses, went to Washington, D.C. to help in soup kitchens. We really worked for others. And I don't remember feeling lost at all when I was on those trips. It was, I opened up a little, I released some pain, and I also connected with the other kids. And then I started sharing. I also connected with the people we met along the way. So the people we were serving, it was amazing. It felt so organically happy. And my mom still to this day encourages me to help others when I'm feeling low. So recently I contacted PAAR. It's the Pittsburgh Action Against Rape, to inquire about positions to help them there. There's a very long process to get in, but seeing that I'm also a rape survivor, this program is very dear to my heart. And again, I'm that inner alchemy. I'm turning something horrible into something, hopefully, to help other people. My heart will release some pain. I will feel freer from the trauma. And it has to be done. That's how I feel about it. It's not really an option. It just has to be done. Okay, so flipping this over to cook the episode through, I want to bring up our relationship.
What?
Reflecting the topic of this episode. So how can the virtuous cycle impact our personal offerings to each other? How? It's really simple. Like, I love being of service to Nathaniel. I really do. And this shouldn't be confused with spoiling him, which I also love to do.
Yeah, she likes to boil dog food and feed me.
Yeah, I boil it first and I season it with salt. Himalayan salt.
I'm just imagining you with a pot and putting in dry dog food and boiling it. Well, like, who does that?
Like, what I do is I make homemade iced tea.
Yeah, no, she makes like well, you're gonna explain some stuff, but I'll go into detail.
No, I mean, I want you to share as well on, you know, the things that you do for me, the things that you do for me. It's just, I could go on for 87 years. So acts of service is my love language, and it's how I express love to others. So the 5 love languages is a short book by Gary Chapman. I suggest you read it because it could change your relationships and your life. According to Chapman, the 5 love languages are acts of service, quality time, gift giving, physical touch, and words of affirmation.
Oh, yeah.
I do want to have a 5-part series, maybe not five episodes, but 5 parts. And I need to find people that, you know, you connect to this message of the 5 love languages. And
you could just interview yourself.
Yeah, I've been doing that for 7 weeks. I'm kidding. Like, I really want other people on the show. And I have a list of people who want to come.
And they've all turned us down, though.
No, they have not. There's like a lot of people, like friends and, you know, that want to come on, and family members. But it's just, I have to actually do the work. I have to create an interview template and find a topic and then question people. And then we have to question them with a flashlight in their
I feel like it's more interview them than question them.
I need to question them.
This isn't an interrogation.
I will interrogate the shit out of them. So, you know, I also love the quality time spent together, which is another language, but the service piece is relevant right now. So my beautiful cousin Shannon mentioned that she liked to hear more personal examples and experiences. So I'll start now. Yeah. Love you, Shannon. This is something you can do from the very beginning of any relationship in your life, meaning you don't have to know this person inside and out to bring them some joy. Also, these things I did and currently do are not going to work for everyone out there, and they're not all grandiose gestures by any means. But when we first started, I used to share articles with him since we were long distance. Anything that kind of mirrored my feelings, you know, something for him to read because I wasn't there with him. And I would, you know, find these articles online, and it takes 2 seconds to share it, you know, and he knows I'm thinking of him. Anything.
I mean, you had me reading things that I just would never have ever read, you know, and thinking about it too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I'm not just reading it so that if you quiz me, I'll know, you know, I'm actually reading and, you know, actually learning from it.
I actually did quiz him every single time. He just doesn't know it because I'm so good.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. I ask you questions.
No, you question me.
Yeah, I do. I would also send him sexy photos. So snapshots here and there just to let him know I want him and I love him.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bigger than that. I drove the 450 miles to visit him for only 2 days at a time sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, even the first time it was 2 days.
Yeah, it wasn't even a full 40 hours.
I hadn't seen you in 20 years, and you just decided to pop down.
Popped up, things happen.
Like it's just 450 miles is like right around the corner.
Yeah, after an 8-hour shift and driving, oh my God, it was the stretch of road or highway.
I knew you had to
I thought I was going to like drive off into the abyss of nothingness. Like I saw nothing for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Not even a place to go to the bathroom.
Well, I mean, it's just really, I knew if you're going to make that trip, which I didn't believe you, if you remember. I was like, she's not coming here.
You're not coming here. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll see you next week. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm coming. He's like, yeah, okay. Like
I didn't, yeah. I mean, but then I realized that she's got to really like me just from like a bunch of texting.
Well, we talked on the phone a lot too.
At that point, we
shared a lot of stuff. And you know, guys, he wasn't a stranger. I didn't like drive 450 miles to get like hacked up into pieces. I know him from
it could have happened.
Middle school and high school. You know, I trusted that he is still him.
And we talked about everything. Like we opened up. I'd never opened up to someone like I did with you, and you were opening up to me. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it felt safe. That was a huge act of service to spend that quality time. It was a leap of faith. But he would do the same thing. He would drive all of that ways to see me, and it's like, you don't have to really do that in a long distance relationship. It's not a necessity to drive as much as you to get away as much as you possibly humanly can.
And we did,
to see the other person. That's an act of service. That's you're serving the other person. You're creating trust and a bond and connection.
We did pretty well to the point where it was almost every couple of weeks that one of us would drive, and sometimes it would be one of us would drive a couple weeks in a row, or not weeks in a row consecutive, but like it would be you driving down here twice in the course of a month,
right. And that was huge for both of us. I just had Monet on my lap, and now she is very sneaky. She took off. Oh, she's getting water.
She's prancing to the
she's prancing. Have y'all ever seen The Secret Life of Pets?
Oh, that's such a cute movie. I've seen it probably 50 times at this point because of the boys.
Yeah. The Pomeranian
accurate
is so on point. Gidget, crazy.
They
So
have
excited
the walk
and
down.
happy. Yeah, but
like
that
they actually got the animation down.
That sachet where her ass goes back and forth, and she's like, doot, 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 doot. Like Gidget is the perfect name for that dog.
They should have had a Pekingese though.
I think that if they had the Pekingese, that the whole movie set would have just shut down because of the cuteness.
It's so cute.
Dodger Beach is the cutest of all the cutes.
I will seriously put Dodger up against any of your animals, your people even.
Or your
He's
people.
Just that amazing.
He is amazing. Nathaniel's obsessed and a little addicted to him. Just really
forever
cute.
and always. And I said that by the end of the year we have to get 3 to 4 more Pekingese, so he has a tribe.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
it's happening.
If you have any Pekingese providers, just let us know. She has to pee. So that acts of service, yes, is a grand gesture. But the thing is that when we started to get together more, I'd make the bed. That's an act of service. I would grab warm towels for our showers and cook his favorite meals. Like the first time I came here, I knew that he loved chicken riggies, and I have a badass chicken riggy sauce.
By the way, not everyone's going to know what that is, just so you know.
So chicken riggies is a central New York staple for all restaurants, all human beings, all families. Someone in your family knows how to make chicken riggies, okay?
Even if you're an Indian food restaurant, you still have to know how to serve chicken riggies.
That's so true. Mm-hmm. If you don't have chicken riggies on your menu, you're going down.
Yeah.
So he hadn't had it in a really long time, and I know I make a bangin' chicken riggy sauce.
A bangin'.
It's wicked. So the first time I was here, that act of service, that act of appreciation, that act of love, that I made his favorite meal, and I made him enough to where he could eat it for a couple of days, So that was a simple thing that I did. So like the bringing him joy and small acts of service, it makes me so happy. So now I walk the dogs, so he doesn't have to grab Jack and take him. It's really, really cold outside, and he's very sensitive to the cold. So unless it's a kind of sunny day, I'll walk the dogs. 3 of them. I'll take 2 separate walks. Yeah, he can't stand the cold. He's a big pussy. But I walk all the dogs. So, that's an act of service. And I surprise him with treats from the bakery. So, that's a win-win, but still.
It's awesome.
He's really excited. I exfoliate his back in the shower. Like, I really scrub it and exfoliate it and then make it so soft. Now I'm rubbing his beard oil in his beard. It's like this delicious lavender from It's Spring Creek Lavender Farm in central New York. I was asked to teach goat yoga there twice, and it's a lavender farm that just is breathtaking. They do weddings there. Obviously, they have goats. There's donkeys. There's some livestock that they don't actually eat or cook.
So funny the way you're just describing this place.
This family bought it together.
I'm sure, by the way, the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu would be very interested in the Lavender Farm.
I think they should go and visit. They would love this fucking beard oil. It's so good. And so anyway, I put that on his face because
It's so good.
It's so good. It's because it actually, then I smell really good afterwards. But and then that's a win-win.
Well, now
but
you got that lotion though, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I ordered the lotion from the website. So the family that bought this farm and recreated, their definition of happiness, which is lavender fields forever. And their kids are outside running around with little sun hats and bonnets, and not bonnets, but you get the picture. They're all like,
Bonnets?
little,
What is this? Like
these kids are so happy.
1750? Like what?
Like this little girl, she has a pony, and I'm like, I wanted to like trip her when she,
What?
because I wanted a pony when I was 4. But no, she's so cute.
No,
They're
you're
just
serious.
so sweet.
You're serious.
So the lavender oil comes from there, the lavender beard oil, and my lotion that I have. So that is just a small act of service that I do for his face. On top of all this face stuff, I do go out and I pick up crickets for the new chameleon, Frankie Cammy Cam.
Frankie.
She is right behind me sleeping, but probably not because we're so loud. She eats a lot of crickets. Let's just say I'm out there
She's still so tiny.
often. What else? Okay, so I organized the closet and I've helped him with his clothes, like the organization factor, because there used to be absolutely no system, not even a 0 system. It was a negative. There was it was just the opposite of
You're a
anything.
sick human being.
Oh my God, it was a mess. But I also keep up on the laundry. I love clothing, so this is a no biggie whatsoever. But the act of service, he has these favorite pants that he loves. There's 3 pairs, and he loves them so much. And it's like, so something that I can show him, a way that I can show him that I care and that I understand how important it is that I make sure he has at least 1 pair clean. And
You were so sweet.
I'm doing the laundry, I'm like I'm like, I got this. Like,
She gets on
laundry
top
isn't
of
a
the
big deal.
laundry to the point I can't even touch the laundry.
Yeah, well, you could, but you don't.
No, and I think part of that reason is because you don't like the way I do it either.
When he folds clothes, oh my God, like my skin is itching. What is wrong with her? So I do bathe the dogs. So he doesn't have to wrestle with them. But that's our quality time too, with me and them, bathing them all. I bathe them all separately. We have a stand-up shower, a beautiful shower. It's, double heads.
Yeah, I mean, like, because the tub upstairs is used for the boys.
Right. And I don't mess with that tub.
Wow. I didn't know you felt so passionate about it.
I don't mess with it.
Poor thing.
So yeah, quality time with the dogs, and it's an act of service. I wash the dogs. While I'm out, I'll pick up his prescriptions. Just even if I'm not doing anything proactively, just asking him how I can make his day better, especially when he's having a bipolar episode.
Wow, way to tell everybody I have bipolar disorder. Jeez.
Our entire first episode is about It's not a spoiler alert unless you're starting backwards with us.
Actually, I've seen some people do or have just because,
So yeah, first episode was love and a bipolar partner. So
that was the only one where I spoke more than 2 minutes for the whole episode.
That's right. And Shannon also asked for more of you. And you know this. He seems like a really nice guy, and he's very sweet. I wish I could hear Nate more.
It is really sweet.
Know.
I do appreciate that, Shannon. Thank you.
He is talking more, people.
Why'd you say it like?
But I haven't really thought of the acts of service I do for him until listing them now. Like loading and unloading the dishwasher never occurred to me to be this grand act of service. But he does those things for me.
I love it because it's the one thing I can you don't mind me doing because like I said, when I do the washer, I put everything in whites.
That's probably what
darks,
I took over.
Reds, colors, whatever. I throw it all together because I just found that front load washers just don't really mess up like they used to. But she doesn't like that, so.
I'm not a fan of mixing the entire, like, old towels
then I
with
even
dog
tried.
clothes.
Well, I never did towels with them.
Panties with towels.
But even when I tried to separate, you said it still wasn't enough. You remember that?
Yeah, because it was like you were putting light gray with like bright red and pink, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
No,
like, who?
if as long as those pink and red things were washed 2 or 3 times before that, you're good to go.
No, you're not. You're still not supposed to do it. You're not supposed to mix stuff. You can talk to my grandma. You ask my grandma about it. She'll tell you.
I think Graham loves me so much that she would let that slide.
Yeah, she's biased. I'll ask another grandmother and she'll tell you you're wrong. Someone else, I need to borrow your grandmother.
I have 2. You can ask either one of them.
And they'll agree with me.
There you go.
So the acts of service thing is huge in your relationship. In the bedroom, I pay close attention
to Jack.
And that's so sick.
No, not that way.
What way?
Just attention to a dog kind.
In the bedroom, I'm talking about sex. Totally talking about sex. Not talking about tucking him in at night and giving him his belly rubs. And
can I actually mention that real quick? That is of service right there.
Yeah.
You make that dog, no one else has ever made that dog feel so loved and so like content. I mean, she does. She gets right down on the floor and she just pets him for a good 5 minutes before we go to bed. At least 5 minutes.
Yeah. I rub his head. I rub his paws. I scratch his belly. I give him hugs.
And you talk the whole time.
I talk. We put our heads together. It's important. It's really important. He's a beautiful creature.
I'm sorry I didn't mean to completely sidetrack you.
So the sex thing, I take my time. I know what he likes, so I do the things that he likes, whether it's visually or other senses. That just naturally occurs to me to do that. So you can do that for your partner if you know what they like, like that's an act of service. Say they want all the lights on and you don't really like the lights on. Put the freaking lights on. Just put the lights on. You look beautiful.
Yes.
Like, that is an act of service. Do something that you wouldn't normally do. Like, set a mirror up somewhere if your partner loves looking at you. Put a mirror up so then she gets a different point of view. That's a huge act of service. That's so wonderful for that person.
And then at the same token, for all the guys out there, like
all the guys,
just pay attention, man.
Yeah,
pay attention. Please. I don't want to get too crazy here, but like if you're, providing pleasure can give pleasure, like, or you can get pleasure from providing pleasure. Like,
yes, please.
Just
it's a virtuous cycle.
Yes. It should be an equal effort is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Not every single time. Sometimes you want to you want to serve your king or queen.
But there should always be a give and take. If you do that, then it should be paid back. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And not that in that way, but it's just that's how it natural occurrence.
We're gonna have an episode more on sexual balance and all that good stuff, because it's we'll
make sure that my mom topic. And my family all listen to that one.
Well, I'm gonna definitely call your grandmothers, both of them, and my grandmother,
Graham.
So the sex thing, so the thought that sex can be very joyful is hardly revolutionary, Ancient cultures created gods and goddesses of love, of fertility, and sexual pleasure, and they worshipped these gods and goddesses. They didn't know what it was called, oxytocin. They called it something else back then.
There you go with that oxytocin.
Oxytocin. So sex basically triggers the feel-good hormone, oxytocin. Why? Since you said it, you threw me off. Damn it.
Poor thing.
Oxytocin makes us feel closer and more trusting in our partners during and after the sexual act. So it feels good on the inside as well as our sensory stuff on the outside. The authors of The Joy of Sex, it was a book that hit our society as a huge culture shock in 1973. They wrote, If we were able to transmit the sense of play that is essential to a full, enterprising, and healthily immature view of sex between committed people, we would be performing a mitzvah. Playfulness is a part of love that could be a major contribution to human happiness. Definitely do show your partner or / partner's sexual appreciation. I will always advocate healthy sexual experiences. So, and also scientific research has also helped support the idea that sex is good for our overall happiness. So if you don't do it, as my suggestion, do it for science. A study by psychology professor Todd Kashdan and his colleagues at George Mason University found that sexual activity leads to positive feelings the following day, even the following day. So, the better the sex, the happier one feels.
What?
It's true. It's science. Kashdan says there is something profound about someone else giving you access to their body and accepting access to yours.
I mean, it was just there's such a momentous thing to have the privilege of being with you,
It's the sweetest thing on the whole planet. Do you see why? You see why?
Do you see why?
You see why? But okay, so Nathaniel hardly asks me to do any of these things, but that's because he shows me their importance by performing his own acts of service for me. So I know that he cares and loves me. And let me tell you, sending joy toward your partner is the best and easiest way to feel joy yourself.
Yes.
So
just like we were saying in the bedroom,
Correct. The virtuous cycle is very obvious on the scale, right? It's like two people or however many are in your relationship together, showing each other love and joy. You'll reap the benefits almost immediately. But, think about your own life. Does your partner or partners become affected by your personal joy? Or if you're a single, do your relationships with family have their very own cycle? Smaller scales, but same important impact. My girlfriends and I, especially Jen, used to throw acts of love at each other a lot. Like the first day I moved into the apartment in Miami, she saw that I didn't have an ironing board. So the very next day, she surprised me and popped up with one. And ever since then, that started our years-long loop. So it was like this trust was starting, and it was an act of kindness, and it was active, so it was a huge gesture to me. So I love to close this episode with the final paragraph of the Time article. Douglas Abrams from the article, the Virtuous Cycle article, says, I asked the Dalai Lama what it was like to wake up with joy, and he shared his experience each morning. I think if you are an intensely religious believer, as soon as you wake up, you thank God for another day, and you try to do God's will. For a non-theist like myself, but who is a Buddhist, as soon as I wake up, I remember Buddha's teaching, the importance of kindness and compassion, wishing something good for others, or at least to reduce their suffering. Then I remember that everything is interrelated, the teaching of interdependence. So then I set my attention for the day, that this day should be meaningful. And meaningful means, if possible, serve and help others. If not possible, then at least not to harm others. That's a meaningful day.
You're so cute.
You're watching me read that, weren't you?
Of course.
So we've had such a great time with the series, The Power of Joy. We've learned a lot. For the past 3 weeks, I've been forced by my own hand to read and research joy so I could share it with you. But in turn, it profoundly changed my moods. I have many of them. And it brightened my life a bit. So if you have any inkling of wanting to find your own passion project, I am telling you, search it out. Search it out. Steve Jobs said something like, if you haven't found it yet, keep searching. And if that worked for him, why not us, right? And another goodie from The Power of Joy, quoting,
Whoa.
Joy lies in the fight, in the attempt, in the suffering involved, not in the victory itself. That was the one and only Oprah. Yes, I'm someone who quotes Oprah. So that's it, folks. Thank you for listening to episode 7, but episode 3 of the Power of series, the final episode of the Power of Joy. We are so, so grateful that you lended us your ears.
Yes, I wish you could see her face.
I'm a very proud mama right now.
All right, well, stay tuned. Find out how you can get in contact with us. In this third and final episode in the series, The Power of Joy, we relearned what we already knew but forgot, that bringing joy to others creates the same in us. The Virtuous Cycle highlights the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu and their belief that by being a reservoir of joy, we can help others heal and also foster our own happiness. We thank you for your love and support. Did you like today's episode? Subscribe to us on Spotify or your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to follow us at Lovin' a Podcast on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.com/LovinAPodcast. Learn more about us on our website, lovinapodcast.com. Until next week, my friends.